Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the virtual breakfast sessions. I'm Larry Sashin, and today we have a wonderful pair of people that are going to discuss a few things I think you'll find interesting. But before we do that, I want to thank our sponsor, Era Group, and Ed Flanagan. Listen, you work very, very hard for your money. And if you'd like to keep some of that money that you've been paying out and not quite sure why, call Ed Flanagan and the Era Group, and they will sift through your invoices, sift through your contracts. Many times they claw back 10, 20% of what you've spent because you've overspent or they've undershipped. And the contracts, well, they know people that can help you. So, Ed Flanagan and the Era Group. Back to our show. Today, we're happy to have coffee with Jane and Dan Meiser of Stonington, Connecticut. Dan, why don't you start by saying hello to the folks?
Sure. Well, thanks for having me, having Jane and I on this morning, Larry. It's always great to see you. We're excited to talk about the restaurants and the farm and the wonderful community that we have here in Stonington.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you. And Jane.
Thrilled to be here. Thrilled to be here. Jan and I don't get to do this a lot, so to be able to talk to you guys this morning is really special for us as well, and to talk about all the exciting things that we're doing. So,
yes. And Fred, say hello from the
Good
dark
morning,
reaches.
Fred Clashman. I'm the editor and publisher of Total Food Service. This should be fascinating. Heard a lot about you guys.
Okay, so I met Dan through an introduction. I guess a little over a year ago. And he seemed like a nice guy when I spoke to him the first time. But when you scratch the surface, you realize that this guy, when it comes to business, this guy isn't a loner. He has a partner. Now, when we talk about a partner, he's totally committed. I mean, we all have partners. Fred's my partner, but I didn't marry him. And these two are an incredible group. Not only have they stayed together, even though they work with each other, but they've built an incredible organization that includes restaurants, a farm, charity. Dan, why don't you start out with the name of your group and explain why it's that?
Yeah, I think that is, that's the best place to start, Larry. So the name of our food organization is the 85th Day Food Community. And that last word, community, really sums up how we operate, how we integrate with the many different partners that we have throughout the greater Mystic and Stonington area, and really just sums up what we do. So the 85th Day Food Community is comprised of 4 restaurants in Mystic. We have Oyster Club, Engine Room, the Port of Call, and then Herring's down in Noank, which is our little lobster shack that, Larry, you and your wife braved a torrential downpour last summer to eat lobster rolls, but I think you still had a good time.
Food experience.
Yeah, and then in addition to the 4 restaurants, we also have a wonderful catering and events group called 85th Day Catering and Events. Most of the catering and events that we host are at Stone Acres Farm. And Stone Acres, you'll hear all about it from Jane, but Stone Acres is this extraordinary farm property that's been in Jane's family since 1765. She has the pleasure of overseeing and running on a daily basis. So Jane heads up the farm operations, Dan heads up the restaurant operations, and there's a lot of extraordinary people in between the two of us that make this machine move every single day.
Wow. Yeah. Jane, tell the people a little bit about Stoneacre Farms and that extraordinary. You have 2 extraordinary buildings on there: the manor and the farmhouse.
So
the barn.
1765. What generation are you?
I am 10th generation.
Wow.
And our son is 11th generation. And
Wow.
we live in a house that is on the property as well, sort of across the street from the farm. So we get a bird's eye view every day, and it for better or for worse, we're right next door to everything that happens. But the farm holds such a special place in my heart for so many reasons. As Dan mentioned, it's been in my family for many years. I grew up on the farm when it was a dairy farm. It was a dairy farm for many years, many decades, until we sold the dairy herd in the mid 80s. And the memories, the experiences that I take with me into this next journey of the farm are really special. Running around the fields, spending evenings and afternoons and weekends with the incredible dairy farm team that was there. I remember all of the cows' names, the turkeys that would chase us, the 1980s electric fencing that is nothing like it is today. So if you touch it, you literally feel the entire volt of the fence that is going through your body. And just the incredible people that made up Stoneacres Farm for so many years. And now with Stoneacres in its new form, it's been a working farm for generations, and we are now welcoming the community into this space with us to experience all the incredible things that we are doing there. The manor house that hosts all the dinners, the farm dinners that were sort of born out of COVID, where everyone was, in their own pods and in their own houses, and how can we continue to bring people together for that human connection, which is so important. Well, we'll do it at tables that are 20 feet apart because we have the space to do that. That was sort of the backdrop of the manor house. And then also the Yellow Farmhouse Education Center, which is its own standalone 501c3 nonprofit that educates people about where their food comes from, and the importance about the conversation around food and community. So, we really look at Stoneacres as part of this bigger conversation and picture of food, farming, and education. We call it sort of the three-legged stool of Stoneacres and 85th Day and Yellow Farmhouse. And we sort of came about this organically. As I mentioned earlier, I did not grow up in the food world or restaurants. I married into it with Dan, and my background was in community events. I ran the LaGrua Center in Stonington for many years, and when Stoneacres was on the market, my grandmother passed away almost 15 years ago now, and the property did go on the market. And I remember Dan and we were dating at the time. I don't even think we were married, and we were walking along the farm lane, and he was already into restaurants, and he had just opened up Oyster Club or was about to. And we said, wow, this property is so incredible. It has such great energy. How can we preserve this and protect this as a working farm, but also open it up to the community to come and see what we do and educate people around food and, how carrots grow and, and asparagus and all the things. And so we put together a group of investors and including a lot of family members and purchased it. And here we are today with this incredible space and campus that does all the things that we sort of dreamed of happening.
Yes. So Dan, talk about the food community a little bit, please, because this is the apex. This is the tip of the spear.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I think there's several levels of that word community, right? I mean, so when I say the 85th Day food community, I'm certainly referring to our restaurants within our group, Oyster Club, Portugal, all of those places. But the community is much richer than that. It's much deeper than that. When we talk about the 85th Day food community, We also include and embrace and bring in all of the dozens and dozens and dozens of other farmers, fishermen, food artisans, brewers, bakers, all the people that we work with that are so integral to what we do, to how we source, to how we cook, to how we feed people. The spokes of that wheel are many. And then there's a whole other layer of community, which is the people themselves directly within our group. Year round, we're around 250 team members. In the summer, that number grows close to 300. That's 300 local folks, 300 local families who work with and depend on, and who we depend on to provide this extraordinary experience for our guests. It's a big family. It's a big team. And so the 85th Day Food community, those are the frontline soldiers, if you will. Those are the folks that are really telling those stories. And stories, that's a whole other part of what we do. We say every day, our food has a story. And anytime we're making a decision for or about the food community, we look to that story as a North Star. What is the story that we're trying to tell? How does that story connect to the other stories within the 85th Day community? What is we often refer to it as the red thread. What is that thread that connects herrings to port of call, and port of call to Yellow Farmhouse, and Oyster Club to Engine Room, and all of them in between? So we view ourselves as storytellers, as well as chefs and bartenders and servers and the such. So that food community, that word community, is rich, and there's many layers and levels to it.
Okay, so you talked about a story. So here's a story.
All right.
If I told you that two people from a little town like Mystic put together a group of, the restaurants, just let's talk about the restaurants. You have 4 restaurants. 2 of them have James Beard recognized chefs.
Yep.
And the third restaurant was named on the list of top 50 restaurants in the United States by the New York Times. And that's a lobster shack that we're talking about, a lobster shack.
Yeah.
Okay. That stuff doesn't just happen.
No.
It doesn't just happen. And it is, like I said, I've been to the Engine Room and I've been to Herring's. And I see the thread that I was able to see was good food, good fresh food. The second thing was the way everyone in your restaurants treat a guest. This is a reflection on the two of you about how people treat. Let's talk about how you set up this empire that basically made Mystic, Connecticut, a food destination.
Yeah, there's a lot to that. So I think let's start with the basics. The golden rule, from my earliest childhood memories, that was something that I was reminded of continuously within my family. This simple idea of, you treat people, you take care of people the same way you would want to be treated, and the same way you would hope that someone would take care of you. And while simple in nature, the power of actually practicing that golden rule, certainly within our business, is it's magic. It's a simple principle that everyone can wrap their heads around, but it really does transform someone's experience when they come in the restaurant. And again, I'm not the first person who's come up with this idea of a team forward business model. But we certainly embrace it and we believe in it and we live it every day. And that idea is simple, that if you take great care of your team, if you give people opportunities to grow and to thrive within your organization, and you take care of them, and it truly is a community. It's not just a business. They're not just a cog in the wheel. If you do that, what you're going to find is that you're going to have team members that are committed to the overall mission of the organization. You're going to have team members that feel a sense of pride in what they do and who they're associated with. And that then takes care of everything else. Because if you have team members who are committed, who care, who believe in what you do, who take care of one another, they're going to take care of your guests. They're going to watch out for your business. They're going to, make the right decision when that time comes. They're going to go the extra mile because there's a sense of ownership and they believe in it. And that is not something that is smoke and mirrors. It's genuine, because if you really do take care of your people and you really get that buy-in because they know that you are bought into them, it really truly takes care of the business. The next step of that is obviously, to surround yourself with the most talented people and dynamic and amazing people you can find. And we have done that. The team, the leadership team that we have within the 85th day, in particular, folks like Renee Toupont, who's my business partner and our chef at Oyster Club in Port of Call. Here's someone who started as an hourly line cook at Oyster Club, and in 2024 was a James Beard finalist for Outstanding Chef in the United States. Wow. You look at Chris Vaness, who is my chef business partner at Herring's. Chris started with us as the opening sous chef of Oyster Club 15 years ago. And last year, as the chef of Herring's, he made New York Times 50 best restaurants in America. You look at Jade Ayala, who runs our bar program at Oyster Club in Port of Call. Again, Jade started as an hourly bar manager with us 8 years ago. Last year, Oyster Club was a James Beard nominee for Best Bar Program in America. This year, her bar program at Port of Call is a nominee for Best Bar Program in America through the James Beard Foundation. So these are folks who have come up organically within the organization, but who are unbelievably talented and who have also been given the opportunity to grow. Those folks are business partners. They're part of the team, and hopefully, will be with us for as long as we're around.
It's an incredible story, and it doesn't end at the restaurant. My grandparents had a farm. I know what farm workers look like and act like. Okay. Jane, I went to the stand and there were farm workers. They were milling around doing different things. Everyone treated you like you were a guest, not somebody that was bothering them and asking questions. It's discuss how you get a cashier at a farm stand to look up and smile at you.
Well, I think sort of following along with what Dan said is that the teams that we have behind all of the organizations that run all these organizations, everyone is passionate about what they do, and they have come to this because they don't necessarily just want a job, but they want to be a part of something bigger. And I think that has grown over time and has also happened organically. The farm stand, what we always talk about with the farm stand is it's a community welcoming space, maybe more like a Grange of yesteryear in in the farm community. It's a space where you can come and you can pick up, a pint of milk from the local dairy, or amazing winter spinach greens that are being grown in our high tunnels. It's a space where, our farm team, our head farmer, Pete Higgins, who is amazing and who has been with us, sort of worked his way up to farm director, has been with us for years. He wants to tell his story. He wants to teach and educate and speak about what it is like to plant a seed and watch it grow as a seedling, and then transplant it into the ground, and then harvest it and put it in the stand for people to enjoy. It's the story behind it, and it's something that, again, it's not a job. It's our life, and it's our passion, and it's the passion for so many other people as well. And that's what makes it really exciting, and that's what makes it engaging when you actually come onto the farm. And one of the programs that is really exciting and cool that we've done in the past is have a lot of the restaurant sort of front of the house servers come to the farm and volunteer on the farm and work with the farm team, so that when a guest comes into the restaurant and you put the Cobb salad down at Engine Room, or the beautiful set of greens at Port of Call, you can actually talk about what it was like to actually grow those and harvest them and be a part of it. It's the story. It's the story about where your food comes from. And I think sometimes, not sometimes, but we're getting away from that. We're getting away from the storytelling. We're getting away from the connections. And Dan and I just really believe deeply that that's so important for communities, whether it's in Stonington or the greater food community, wherever that might be.
So let's
a question, Larry.
Go ahead, Fred.
Do you think that this concept of telling stories, do you think that this could hold the key to childhood obesity and obesity in general? That if we really understood what we were eating and we were able to teach it, that could have an impact?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, I think without question. I mean, this whole concept of food as medicine, I believe deeply in. And, the old saying, you are what you eat. And if there was, to your point, Fred, if there were more and more honest conversations in this country about the power, both negatively and positively, about food, it could change, and it should change a lot of people's outlooks and perspectives on what they consume and how they consume. But I know, Larry, you don't allow political talk on your show, but so without getting into too much policy side of things, the biggest hurdle in all of that is also the power of the food lobby and big food lobby, right? Big food is big business in this country. And there are certainly some positives that go along with the growth that we have seen in agriculture in this country, but there's a lot of really bad stuff that's come along with it as well. And there's no question that rates of childhood obesity, and then all of the lifelong problems that come along with childhood obesity, the diabetes, the cancers, you name it, the cardiac stuff, is all related. So yeah, I think we really need to get back to telling those stories and having honest conversation about the power of food.
Yeah, and I think on on a simple level, one of the things that the Yellow Farmhouse Education Center does, does such amazing work, but one of it is welcoming school groups from kindergarten all the way up to high school. They're very focused on high school kids. Everyone is so programmed to go to a grocery store and buy a bag of carrots in a bag and have absolutely no idea where they're coming from and what they actually might taste like, how they grow. You bring a group of school kids, whether they're 5 or 16, show them that carrots actually grow on the ground, that you can actually use the greens for, salsa or pesto or something like that. They're using the whole carrot. A lot of times these kids have never had a carrot before or never eaten one straight from the earth. And so the actual just very simple action of pulling it out of the ground, washing the dirt off of it, cutting it up, putting it on a plate, and eating it together, that is incredibly impactful. And, to get back to some of those basics is, I think, just immensely important in today's day and age.
Yeah, I agree 100%, especially when you say about tasting a carrot. To most kids, carrots come out of the bag that have been sitting there for God knows how long. And what does a carrot taste like? It tastes like orange. Right. It's a crunchy orange thing. But you taste a carrot that comes out of the ground, and it's wow.
Or more importantly, if you went to the farm and picked the carrot out of the ground.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's something the kids don't forget, and they want to know, why can't I get that? So it's a thing. And
so they're making those decisions now as they're going to the grocery store and maybe getting the carrot with the greens and food waste. And so again, we can go down lots of roads with this, but
we have a million roads to go down, but I have a problem. It's that time of the show, because time is always our enemy. Time is always our enemy.
Harry, I told you, we got to go 2 hours next time. I'm just getting warmed up.
We'll be back.
We'll be back. Yes, we will. We want chapter 2. We want the next exciting chapter of the Meiser family. And so before I ask you to give that last bit of information that, not everybody has the advantage of being in a beautiful place with a wonderful backdrop, with a farm, a 60-acre farm that supports you, and all the other things. They're stuck on a street in the city. I want to know what those 2 or 3 things that they can do to up their commitment to food community without spending a lot of money. But I'll be back to that, because before we say our last bit of information, I once again have to thank our sponsors, Ed Flanagan and the Era Group. Hey, if you think you're paying too much taxes, call Ed Flanagan and the Era Group. That's eragroup.com, and ask them about the IRS Cafeteria 125 plan. It will help you claw back some of that money you're paying in employee taxes, put money back in your employee's pocket and back in yours. So if you like spending taxes, ignore what I just said. Otherwise, contact Ed Flanagan at the Era Group, and he will help you. Okay, back to our show. We always like leaving a little bit of information with the people. Something they will remember this by and look forward to Meiser 2. So Meiser the Return. It sounds like an action movie.
Star Wars.
Prequel.
Jane, why don't you go first?
Oh, what to leave this audience with? I would say if you have a local farm or farm stand or farmer that definitely visit. You don't have to do it all the time, but every once in a while, if that's what works for you. CSAs, community supported agriculture programs, are so important. It's the way to really invest in a farm for an entire season. Small farms are few and far between and are a dying breed. So anything you can do to support that farm team along the way is so incredibly important. And thank you. I got you. I understand you. We're here to help. Goes a long way. So I would just say that would be my last word for now.
Okay. Can I go to Dan now?
Yeah.
Or you have another last word? Okay, Dan.
No, I think to piggyback off of what Jane said is keeping it local. supporting small business. I look at the thousands of restaurants just here in Connecticut, single unit owner operated restaurants that are the backbone of their neighborhood's economy. Go out, support these folks, and certainly, support the ones that are also supporting local. There's Connecticut is very unique. New England is very unique in that there still are these independent family run farms. There's not a lot of them. And to Jane's point, there's less of them every day, and figuring out ways to help support and preserve and protect these farms is critical. So whether it's a farmer's market, a local CSA, a local food co-op, or a local restaurant that does support their local farms, hit it up.
Land and sea farms.
Yeah. Land and sea. Yeah. I mean, that's a great point as well. The local fishing fleet is extraordinary here in Connecticut, but buy local.
Buy local.
Yes. Okay. Fred, do you have anything to say?
I do. When your US Foods or Cisco salesperson comes in the door next week, why don't you start to have that conversation with them and say, you know what? Can you connect us with local farms, local agriculture opportunities, local fishermen, et cetera? We would like to see what we can do to bring back of course, well-priced local fare to our menus.
Yeah.
So let's put the pressure on the distribution partners to help us get this done.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yes. Well, it's that time of the show where I have to say goodbye. Listen, the two of you were wonderful. I enjoyed this, and be prepared now that you've done it once. We're going to have you on again because there are a lot more things that I want to talk about specifically the next time. We've got a general view who the Meisers are, and tell Levi I said hello. And
next time.
and he'll be a farmhand. And
that's the big thing in our house. Are you going to be in restaurants or farms? Restaurants or farms? It depends.
Also, is there a website where our listeners can go find more information if they want to plan a visit?
Absolutely. So Stoneacres website, we actually just launched our new website. It's stoneacresfarm.com.
Yep.
Got it.
And the restaurants?
And the restaurants are 85thdaygroup.com, or you can just Google any of the Oyster Club or Port of Call. It'll come up.
Anybody who's within 2 hours, it's definitely worth the trip. It is definitely worth the trip. You won't be unhappy. And, this was a great show, and we'll be back again next week. But until then, I only have two things to say. Everyone, stay positive, test negative, and we'll see you next week. Bye now.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks,
guys.
Fred. Thank you, Larry.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.